In this video, I'll show you how you can use the RØDECaster video to film small conferences and events. Hi, I'm Aaron Parecki. Before we get started, I want to thank Rode for sending the RØDECaster video to me to share with you on this channel. So before we get into the setup of the RØDECaster video, I want to first give a little background on the type of event that I'm trying to set up here. This is a little diagram of a typical small conference or small presentation. We've got the seating area for the audience. There is a person at a podium that's going to be presenting from a laptop, and they'll have a microphone. There'll be a projector that we need to show their slides on, which might be sitting on the table or farther back in the room. And then we're going to have two camera angles. One is a close-up of the presenter, and one is a wide shot of the room as a kind of safety shot to cut away to whenever you need. There's also a speaker in the room, which will be an amplification for the speaker's microphone, and the video booth might be over on the side here. So if you're sitting in the room, it might look something like this, a typical setup of seeing the presenter's slides on the projector behind the presenter on a little podium. So let's dive into how we can actually set up the RØDECaster video to do this setup. So in the RØDECaster video, I've got a few different inputs plugged in. I've got a camera that's a close-up of the presenter, in this case, me. I've got what's standing in for a wide shot of the room, in this case, it's a wide shot of my desk. And then I've got the presenter slides coming into input 3. And then I've got an iPad that's sitting over to the side here, which is just running a Keynote file. And that's for a break loop or sponsor logos. It's nice to be able to cut those things into the stream when you're in between breaks or in between speakers. So these are the 4 basic inputs, and I can now switch between these 4 inputs with these first row of buttons that have the numbers on them. So as you would expect, inputs 1, 2, 3, and 4 do basic camera switching on the RØDECaster video. There's at least one more layout that I want to make though, which is a nice side-by-side view of the speaker and their slides. And that's what this second row of buttons is for. These are for custom layouts that you can create on the RØDECaster. Now you can set these up from the RØDECaster's screen, but it's a little bit easier to do on the computer. But let me show you how to do it in here first. So here we can see there's 4 cameras plugged in. The 4 inputs are lit up here. These buttons are for the additional, more interesting layout options. There's a button to play back media. There's a button here for doing overlays. This one is called multi-source. This is where we can set up the fun layouts. And this is for keying. So here what I'm going to do is tap the multi-source, and this is where we can start to configure the layout. Now I don't actually want picture-in-picture, I want picture next to picture. Blackmagic calls this super source. So what I can do is I can actually tap on that, and it'll go into this menu, which will let me choose what kind of picture-in-picture or other layouts. So if I tap to the right here, then there's more options like cropped side-by-side or full screen side-by-side or 4 up or 3 up. But there's also these, and this is the one that I want. Picture next to picture. This is not exactly right because I want to crop rather than scale down B, but this is a good start. So here is where I can use the scroll wheel to change which of the 3 different layers I'm selecting. So here is the background. I don't actually have a graphic loaded in, so we're gonna have to come back to that. I can choose what goes into layer A and then layer B. So for layer A, I actually want the large one to be the computer's slides, which are plugged into input 3. So input 3, I can just go ahead and tap that now here. And I can scroll this down to B, and I'm going to select input 1. So now I've got the cameras set up correctly here, and I can go ahead and click OK. Now this creates the scene, but it's not actually saved anywhere yet. So if we go back and look at my RØDECaster, it's got the scene created here, but it's not saved anywhere, so I can never get back to it yet. What I can do is once it's created, I can hold down on the letter A, and it's going to save it to that. And in a second, you'll see it pops up a little preview of it here. So now that that's saved as layer A, I can cut between any of the cameras, and also now I can cut to that layout. This is actually one of the super unique things about the RØDECaster. It's very quick to create these custom layouts and save them and then recall them using these letter buttons. Okay, so this isn't very nice looking yet. I want to actually fix this up, scale up the image here so that my face is larger, and put a nice background on. So now I need to actually open up the desktop app in order to load graphics. So I've downloaded Rode Central and connected my RØDECaster over USB and plugged it in. So it shows up on the left here, and I can now go and configure the device using the software. I'm going to go ahead and open the scene builder first. This is where we can go ahead and create all these custom layouts with a lot more control compared to what you get on the physical device. You can see what I've done so far for the layout is saved in the layout A. And now we get all these options over here of changing the sources and the layers. I do want to first add a background image into this background slot. And to do that, I'm actually going to import a file from my computer. So now I can go ahead and click add media. And this is going to let me choose a file from my computer's drive, and it'll upload it to that SD card. I'll go ahead and choose RGB background. So it's going to now upload it there. And now I can actually go ahead and just drag this over to the background slot here. And now you can see here it's actually loaded it into the background and we're using it for the layout. Now that that's selected, I can go ahead and rearrange these to make it look a little bit nicer. Let's start with camera 3 because I want the slides to be a lot bigger. So now I'm actually going to go and choose the custom option, and that's going to let me get more control over this. So now I can go ahead and click on camera 3, and you can see it's opening up these, it's got these little handles that I can use to adjust the picture. So I can now make this larger. I can go closer to the edge there. I want to go closer up there. Just make this a lot larger so we can see the slides better. Then I can go ahead and go to camera 1, which is my camera. And this I want to crop in and also make larger. So I don't need any of that. I don't need any of that side. And then I can go ahead and scale this up and we'll make it the same height as the slides. So I can just go ahead and drag this until it says 760. And then we'll make sure the Y position matches as well. So this one is at 165. So we want this one to also be at 165. And then maybe I move it over a little bit to make a little, oh, it looks like I'm covering up the slides a bit. So let's slide it over to make room. Slide this one over a little bit that way, keeping it at 165. Okay, that's pretty good. I don't think I want these borders. That doesn't look very good to me, so I'm gonna turn those off. And now we've actually got the nice side-by-side layout created. So this, because I've got A selected here, this is now already saved into slot A. So now we can go back to the switcher and I can go ahead and cut back to the presenter's full camera. We can go cut to the computer screen, full screen, or now go back to this custom layout, which has the nice side-by-side. There are a whole bunch more slots up here. As you can see, we've got letters B through G. So if you wanted to make other layouts for this, you can, and you can save those as custom layouts up here. One limitation of this right now is that you can't actually use the RØDECaster to feed the projector because the only options for the HDMI outputs are either the multi-view, which looks like this, or it's the full, or just whatever's on the program feed. So you can feed the program feed out to a recorder if you want to record a copy, but you can't actually use it to feed a projector. I did suggest to them that that would be a great addition, which is to be able to choose one of the other HDMI inputs to pass through one of the HDMI outs. That way you could feed a projector with a copy of the slides or the break screen. So we'll see if they add that in a future update. The good news is the RØDECaster video is super flexible and they can do a lot of things by updating the software of it in the future. So now let's move on to the audio setup for both the recording as well as for the room. So what I can do now is I can actually bring in the microphone from the presenter into the RØDECaster Duo, run the room audio from the RØDECaster Duo, and then actually plug in USB from here to here and bring in the USB audio from this into the RØDECaster video. So back on the RØDECaster video, I'll show you how to configure the audio here. Tap on this little icon with the bars, and this is where you can choose which audio channels you want to use in the RØDECaster. So here, if you scroll left, you'll get this add or remove channels. You can tap on that. And this is where you can enable or disable individual channels of audio in the RØDECaster video. So right now, for example, I have the 2 combo jacks enabled, which are the XLR and 1/4 inch jacks there. I don't have wireless mics enabled right now. You can also choose whether you want audio from the video clips, whether you want sounds, your 4 different HDMI sources. You also have Bluetooth audio, so you can pair a phone. You can have audio brought in from different USB sources, USB 1, 2, 4, and 5. 4 and 5 can be webcams, or in this case, the RØDECaster Duo. So the Duo is actually plugged into USB 5, which can host it as an audio device. So I've got that turned on here. Once your channels are configured, then when you're looking at the screen of the RØDECaster, you actually have these little audio meters down here. So down at the bottom, we've got any of the audio channels that I've enabled in that setting. We'll get little bars for them here, and now we can actually adjust the levels. So here I'm going to tap on the little icon again, and now as I'm scrolling through here, we get to adjust the levels of each of these. So I have, for example, I can press down on that, and now I'm actually going to, if I scroll, you can see I'm adjusting the level of combo 1. So I don't have anything plugged in there. I should probably just disable the channel entirely, but you could bring in a microphone that way. So I'm going to go scroll over to USB 5, and you can see we do see some audio levels here. And that's because I already have a microphone paired with the RØDECaster Duo. So now whatever I'm doing on the RØDECaster Duo, that audio is going to show up in the audio for USB 5 channel. So if I'm using the sound pads, for example, any of those sounds will be output into the RØDECaster video as well. So here I've got a Rode Wireless Pro, and that's actually paired wirelessly to the RØDECaster Duo. This would also work well with the RØDECaster, the new handheld mic that pairs wirelessly as well. Or of course you could bring in wired mics into the RØDECaster Duo as well. So here I've got audio coming into the Duo, and then we can see it's also being passed through into the USB 5. That means I can actually run audio to the room from the RØDECaster Duo, and it'll be amplified in the room in real time with no delay. So once this is configured, we're ready to run the show. I can do my camera cuts with the buttons along the bottom. I can go into that side-by-side layout that looks nice for the presenter's slides. When I'm ready to go live and record, I can just tap this big giant button on the left. I've got a USB drive plugged in here, so it's recording this show to the USB drive. Probably also worth mentioning one of the record features here. So let me go back over to the overhead. If you go into the setup here, scroll over into Multitrack. Here you can choose whether you want your video to record only the program feed, or if you want ISO recording. ISO recording basically means that every one of your inputs will be recorded as a separate file. And that way you can actually go ahead and do live cuts, but if you make a mistake, you can edit your show later. I had that set to ISO recording, so let's go take a look at the files on the drive and I can show you what's been recorded. So here are the files on the drive. Here's a couple of recordings I've done. This has your main audio mix as well as any video cuts that you did. I don't think I did any video cuts in that little test, but they would all be included in there. You've also got audio, which is in this case your live mix. And in the video folder, you see we've got cameras 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 5 is actually empty because there's nothing plugged into slot 5. And 6, I think I had a camera plugged into there, so just recorded black. So those are nothing. I can go ahead and delete those. But here we have our 4 cameras. Camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, and camera 4. And the audio that is recorded into those is the same program audio that was recorded in the main stream. If you wanted to also record multi-track audio in case you're bringing in more audio sources into here or doing more things with audio in the RØDECaster video, you can go to the settings here, scroll over to multi-track, tap down to go into that menu, and then scroll over to record audio and then press on multi-track audio. And then you can choose pre-fader or post-fader or whether you want to bypass the effects. I'm going to choose pre-fader. That's basically going to be the safer option here. And now with this, we'll go ahead and hit record. And I can actually do some camera cuts now to show you a little bit better what this is going to do. So as we're cutting here, we'll see that the program feed in the recording has the camera cuts in it. And we also have the ISO video files. Let's go ahead and stop this and bring it back to the computer. So here's our second project. And we've got our main video file that now has all the camera cuts in it. We've also got our ISO video files, and the audio folder now has individual WAV files of each of the tracks that are enabled on the device. We've got the 2 combos, we've got the video clips. If I played any video clips back, that would contain the audio from them. We've got the sound effects, we've got the Bluetooth audio and the USB 5. And of course, the live mix. So this way you get a complete ISO recording of everything individual source that you've got and you've brought into the RØDECaster video. And you can go ahead and bring this into a video editor and edit as if it were recorded completely separately from different cameras. So this has been your demo of using the RØDECaster video for a small presentation and small conference environment. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions, and thanks again to Rode for sending this out to share with you on the channel. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.